Hey class, welcome back. So let's implement this top section on the sub pages where we get the banner and the image if there is one. An example of this is the React.js subreddit, and we have a banner here. It doesn't have a banner, so it just has this blue div, and then there is the image right there. So let's go back to VS Code. Let's open the actually, before we open anything on the client, I actually forgot I wanted to add these two virtuals. Let's go to source. So on the server, go to entities, sub. I'm going to add two more virtual fields. One is, so let's say add expose and import that. Import that. Use that decorator, and then here we'll say get, and this will be called image URL. So there's a difference between image URL and URN. URN is just that name, and URL will be the full URL. There's a reason why we don't store this on the database, because you don't know where your server is going to be hosted, and your URL, your domain name could be different and it could change in the future. So of course you don't want to store that in your database. You want to dynamically concatenate that. So for this is going to be a function. So it's a getter function, and it will return a string. So the function will return the image URN concatenated with the domain name and the path, and it will also return the gravatar placeholder if there is no image URL. So actually let's grab that. So let's Google gravatar placeholder, and this, yeah, it's this one. So let's copy the image address of this one, this egghead, and here we'll say return this. Actually, I'm gonna add an environment variable. So here in our root.env, let's actually here at the top, let's say app_URL, and this will be HTTP. So in our local machine, this will be localhost 5000, and in production, this is gonna be probably our domain name and HTTPS or HTTP depending on the state of our server. So here we'll say return this.image URN. And actually we'll do a ternary. So if this is not null, we'll say, let's do backticks and then do $ curly brace and concatenate process.env.app URL and slash. So we know it's going to be in images slash, and then we concatenate this, this.image URN. So otherwise, colon, if there is no image URL, then we just return that gravatar placeholder. So let's do another one. So I'm just going to copy this and do another one for the banner. But for the banner, we're not going to return a placeholder. If there is no banner, we're just going to return undefined. So this will be banner URL. And this will say this. If there is a banner URN, then do that and concatenate banner URN. Otherwise, just return undefined, which will not return this key at all. Okay, let's say here, let's do a union type, so string or undefined. All right, save this, and let's check out the results in Postman. So let's request /sub/react.js. So we get a image URL and a banner URN for both of them. And then if we scroll down, you see we get these URLs for the image and the banner. And of course, if we click them, they don't work. And that's because, okay, for some reason this image doesn't exist anymore. It's probably when I was like testing and deleting and doing stuff. So I'm just going to quickly connect to my database. You probably didn't have this problem. I'm just going to connect to my database and just reset those values to null. To PSQL, Reddit, root. I'm actually going to set all of them to null. So update subs set double quotes image URN. And I'm going to do banner URN as well, banner URN. And I'm going to delete these images. Cool, okay. So now we're just going to upload them from the client side and play with them from there. So let's go to sub.tsx in our client side. I'm going to close these two. And let's scroll down. I actually want to add a head section so that we can update the title of the document up here to the actual title of the sub. So here, let's say return div, and inside of here we're gonna have head and import that from Nextjs. And here we'll say title, and this will have the sub and do a question mark because it could be null dot title. And let's close that div here. Div should do a closing tag. Actually, this should be removed. All right, save. All right, cool. We get React.js developer community up there. And here where we have, where we're checking for the sub, I'm actually gonna, so let's actually do parentheses here and close the parentheses. I'm gonna bring everything inside of this sub check, and I'm gonna wrap everything in a fragment, and move this over here. And here on top of the, so here we can actually put some comments, and we'll say posts, and this will have actually posts and sidebar, which we'll create later. And at the top, we're gonna have the sub info and images. So here, let's do a div. And inside of this div, we're gonna have two divs on top of each other. So the first one will actually, let's do .bg.blue.500. So by default, it's gonna have this background color. So if it doesn't have like it's here, so if it doesn't have a banner, it's gonna be this blue, and I'm gonna put like a lighter blue to match this button color. So let's go back to VS Code. Now inside this div, we're gonna check. So let's do an expression and say sub.banner. Actually, this reminds me, let's create a type for sub, so we get autocomplete and stuff. So let's go to types. So open types, and actually we could go to Postman, and here at the top we can grab all of these. So copy this. Actually, copy everything, and let's head over to VS Code. And here at the bottom we can say export interface interface. Why is it hard to spell interface? Sub, and paste everything. And I'm actually gonna remove the posts up to here. Actually, remove posts for now. Okay, select all of these. So select this and then hold Alt and select this and this and this, because I want to replace them by string because they're all strings. And this as well. It's probably a faster way of doing this, but whatever. So this. Oh no, I unselected the other one. Oh, what's happening? Okay, this. Cool, okay. So say string and save. Perfect. And let's bring back the posts. So posts will be a type of post array, which we have up here. And we can put a comment here and say virtuals for the virtuals. Now save that. Now we can import that here. Or actually, we could just give it and it will import it. So in the use SWR, we can say that the return type is a sub. And actually, oops, click this. Cool, that's imported. And I need to stop smashing my keyboard because that's probably really loud. And here, okay, that's already errored because there's no ban without banner URN. Okay, actually banner URL here we need. So we'll do a ternary if that's the case. And we need to return a div with, let's give it some height. So let's give it height 56, actually h-56. Let's give it bg blue 500. Tab that. I'm actually gonna put the image as the background of this div. So let's do some inline styling, and here we'll say background image, and let's do backticks and say URL and concatenate inside of it sub.banner, URL. And let's do a comma here, and let's say background repeat, just in case it's really small, we'll say no repeat. And let's do background, what is it? I wanted to see it, but whatever. Let's just type it. Background cover, and that will be, no, it's not cover, background fit. Oh, it's size. Okay, size, and that's cover so that it doesn't warp it if it's not actually square. And let's say background position, and give that center. So here after that, after the parentheses, let's do colon in case there's no banner URL. We'll just do a shorter div, so .h-20, and this will have as well bg-blue-500. Tab that, and this will be what is it? This will be this thing right here in case there's no image, no banner image. All right, save. Let's take a look at this. Okay, so there's a conflict in naming because we have the type sub and this is called sub. This doesn't matter, we can call this anything, so let's call this, not name, sub page. Save that. All right, cool. So we get this this blue div thingy here because we don't have a banner URL for React.js, which we'll fix in a bit. Let's do the rest where we have this title and this, I don't know, just /r/ the name of that subreddit and the image. So let's scroll down. Let's put some comments. So here, what we check for the banner, actually before here, we'll say, do a comment and say banner image. And after this div, let's say sub metadata. And here let's do a div with a class of height-20 dot bg white. Tab that. And here, let's do a container. We want to push everything to the middle. So let's do dot container. Let's give it a flex class. And here let's put image. Actually, let's use the next image component. So let's go up here and import next/image. Image. This is a very recent starting from next 10. There's this nice image component that helps us optimize our image loading. You'll see in a bit what it does. So here, let's say image, and this will take the source. So here we'll have sub.image URL, and we know we're either gonna get the sub image or the gravatar placeholder. So there is gonna be a value there. Let's give it an alt, and say sub image. Actually, the name image, the word image is redundant. Let's give it a class name of rounded full so that it's circular, and let's give it some width. We need to give it width and height for this next image component to work. Let's give it width of 80 and height of 80, and close that and save, and let's take a look at it and refresh. Okay, we get an error. Invalid source on Nextjs. No, it's not configured. Oh yes, because for next image to work, we need to give, if we're given a URL, we need to configure that we need to tell it, because it doesn't know which domain is ours, which isn't. It doesn't know whether to optimize this, the images from this domain or not. And that would be, actually, let's click on this link. It should tell us what to do. Yeah, we need to add this images object in our next config and add the domain that we want to optimize images from. I'm actually going to add gravatar there because we know we're just going to use one gravatar image in our site. So let's go to our next config. Here under this webpack, we'll do this images object, and we'll add, what is it? Is it gravatar.com? Yeah, it's gravatar.com. Actually, I'm not sure if this is a good idea to add gravatar, but whatever. I'm just going to add it. While we're at it, let's add our localhost as well for now in development. So localhost, set our images as well get optimized. So save, and let's check it out. Refresh. Okay, we updated the config, so I think we need to restart our server, our client server. So I'm going to quit PSQL here and go back to my other terminal and restart the dev command. Okay, let's have a look at it now. Come on, you can do it. Oops. Okay, we get another error. Actually, it's the same one. Maybe we need to add the dub. Okay, let me try again. Okay, I'm going to close the server and let's go to our config and just add the dub and restart our client. Actually, just restart both. This is the same command. Refresh. Hey, there we go. Okay, our image is square, but we get it anyway. And if you notice, actually, this image is kind of like not the best quality, but that's okay because it's tiny and you can't tell that much. And if you have a look at it, you'll see that it's a very different URL to the original one, because Next in the background actually generated a new, probably WebP. I think it's WebP, yeah. Let's go to network and go to all. Actually, let me refresh so I can get it. Just gonna sort them by type. Yep, it's this one right here. So WebP, and the size of it is 214 bytes. That's like less than half a kilobyte. The original one is probably like, I don't know, 5 kilobytes or something. So the optimization is like, obviously this image is already tiny, but if it was a bigger one, you'd see the difference. All right, let's see why it's not rounded. Let me inspect it. Ooh, inspect. What's happening with my dev tools? Okay, there we go. Bring this over. No, wait, why can't he? Okay, there we go. Oh, okay, I misspelled it. My bad. Rounded full. There we go. Come on, let's try again. Sweet. Okay, now it's circular. Okay, let's add the rest of the data. So we have, so under this image, actually not under, I mean, it's under here in text, but it's going to be next to it. We need to put some like padding on the top and on the left, so it's just like not right next to it, kind of like here. Let's add a div here and say pt-2.p L dash, what do we give it? Let's give it 16. Oops, is there a 16? Yes. All right, tab that. And inside of here, let's say .flex .items center. And here, actually, I'm going to use header 1 because this is kind of the title of the page. Let's give it some classes. Let's give it some marginal bottom. So MB1 and text. Let's give it, what is it, XL or 2XL. And let's give it some font bold so that it stands out. Close that. And here we'll say sub.title. We don't need to do question mark here because we're inside this check. This sub exists if we're here. And under here we'll say, so let's do a paragraph dot text dash small dot text text gray 600. And this will say /r/ and we'll put the sub dot name. All right, close that, save, and keep going back to Postman. All right, there's too much padding on the left. Okay, I know why I give it padding on the left now, because I want to set this to have like a position of absolute so that I can bring it a bit up like there is here. Actually, let me close these two. So I'm going to do that. I think we can't give it to the image itself, so I'm just going to wrap it in a div. So wrap it in a dot absolute and put it there. And let's give this wrapping div a relative class, and I'm going to give this some style, and let's give it top minus 40. Let's save. Okay, minus 40 is way too much. Let's give it minus 10. Okay, it looks like is it bigger than it should be? Maybe I'm going to reduce the width and the height. Let's give it maybe 70. Yeah, that looks better. Let's give this minus 15. And this, we need some more padding. So padding left 20, 20, 20, 24. Not 25, 24. Super. Okay, that looks... Okay, the text maybe is bigger. Let's give it text 3XL. Let's take a look at it. Yep, just about right. This needs to be maybe font bold as well. So here, font dash, not gont. Font, I can't type anymore. Font bold, and let's make this a bit lighter, 500. What happened to my font size? Okay, let's take a look at it. All right, that looks... maybe I'll remove that padding on the top. Or maybe just give it 1. Yeah, that looks about right. Okay, let's do the actual image uploading. So we want to make it so that if we're logged in, speaking of which, let me log in quickly. So I'm going to log in as John 1 through 6. So I want to make it so that, okay, let's go to, where's the React.js? Right here. So if I'm the owner of this sub, I want to be able to click here or here and upload those images. So the way we're going to do this, so we're going to have a hidden input somewhere. And then when we click on one of these, it's going to populate that input with that file and then upload that file to the server. So let's go. So actually, I'm just going to put it here. It doesn't really matter where you put it because it's hidden. So I'll say input of type file. And let's say hidden equals true. And let's give it a reference so we can access it in our React component. So I'll say, let's give it file input ref. And we're going to create this in a moment and close that. So let's go up here. Let's say, let me put some comments here. Utils. So usually I put local state stuff here and then global state stuff here, and then the utility stuff and the rest goes there. That's like the convention that I follow. So for the local, I'm going to create, actually the ref is not a state variable. I mean, I think it's a utility, so I'm just going to put it here. So let's say const file input ref equals create ref. Let's give it a type as well. So HTML input element, and call that and import that from React. So we'll make these two divs clickable. Actually, we need to check if the user that's logged in is the owner of this sub. So for that, we need to actually use the auth context. So let's import from that. So import from back, actually 2 levels, context / auth. And we're going to get use auth. Yeah, use auth state. And under global state here, I'll say, so destructure from use auth state, and we're gonna get authenticated and user. So here in these two divs, So right here, if we're the owner of the div, I want to add, not the div, the owner of the sub, I want to add the cursor pointer so that the user knows that they can click this and do something. So actually, let's import class names. So here I'll say import class names from class names. And let's go back down. So here I'm going to use class names. So let's remove this for a sec and say class names. Oops, class names. And pass that, and then here we'll pass cursor, cursor pointer, and the condition. Actually, let's create a variable for this because obviously it's going to be a mess if you just put it there. So let's say owns or just owns sub, and this needs to be created in a use effect hook because at the beginning we don't have the sub itself. So let's create the state variable here. So use state. Actually import that, and then let's use the snippet and call this own sub, and it's gonna start with false. Just give it a type here. Actually, we don't need to give it a type because we already said false, so it knows it's a boolean. So here we can do a use effect call, use effect, import that, and let's do a callback. And because the sub at the beginning is null or undefined, we need to check for it. So we'll say if no sub, then we don't do anything, we just return. And the dependency array will have sub. So if sub changes, this should execute. And we're gonna say set own sub. And the condition is that if we're authenticated and our user.username, username equals the sub.username, that means we are the owner of this sub. So now this own sub will actually have the actual value, and we need to do the same for the cursor pointer for the other one. So actually just take this class name attribute and come here, actually for the image itself. So I'm just going to take this rounded full, replace this bgblue 500, remove this class name attribute, save, and let's take a look at it. So React.js, John owns React.js, so we get a cursor pointer on both of them. But if we go to funny, that's Jane's Reddit or subreddit, we don't get that cursor pointer. So that's cool, that's working. So let me go back to React.js, go back to VS Code. So now we need to make it so that when we click these, we can upload the file. So actually, let's add an Onclick event. So Onclick. So when we click, we want to open the, let's call a function called open file input or input. And we're going to pass it the type. So when we click on the banner here, we want to pass it the type banner so that it knows that we're going to upload a banner. And the same for here, we're going to pass it the word image. So actually we're going to pass it here. So for this one, this is the image. So we'll do like this. I'm going to copy this and go to this one here and paste it and say banner. And let's create this open file input. So here we'll say const open file input takes a type, and that's a string. And it simply, actually, let's check for own sub, just in case somehow the user triggered this. So we'll say if not own sub, then return. Otherwise, we're gonna access that reference. So file input ref dot current dot, and we're gonna actually set this to a field on top of the input itself. We can store it as a state variable, but we can do this as well. So we'll say, let's call it name. So we'll say .name equals that type that we got passed. And then we'll say file input ref dot current dot click so that we can trigger it and we can set a file to upload. So let's take a look at it. So let's go back to Chrome. So now if we click it, there we go. It opens the file explorer thingy, and now we can select any image. Obviously now changing the image doesn't do anything. We're not doing uploading, but we can do that as well. So let's do that. So that's easy. We need to, let's go to the input. So every time we select a file, the change event is triggered. So let's say on change, and let's give this. So we want to make it so that each time you just select a new image, it just uploads it instantly. So let's call this upload image, and let's create that. So here, let's say const upload image, image equals, and this will be an async function, and this will take an event, and this will be a change event of type HTML input. HTML. I swear, like the later the day goes, the worse my typing becomes. So First thing, we're gonna actually get the file. So we'll say const file, file, so many typos, equals event.target.files. Look at this, by the way, we get autocomplete for the event as well. So we get target, and if we do dot, we get files as well, which is pretty cool. So files, we get the first file, and don't worry if you don't give like multiple to the input, it's not going to allow you to upload multiple ones. And here we can create an instance of form data. So let's say const form data equals new form data, and we'll say form data dot append. So we're gonna append the name of the field is gonna be file, and the value is gonna be the file itself. And here we'll say form data. Just like we did with the endpoint, we need the file and we need the type. So here we'll say append type, and that will be, actually no, this is a string type, and that will be the type that we got passed. Actually no, it's not here, we got passed it here. So how do we access it? Oh yeah, we just access it with this. Duh. Okay, so file input the current.name, paste that there. And now let's do a try catch block and send this to the server. So error. So let's say const res equals await axios dot post, and this will return a subtype. So do that, and the URL. So do backticks, and the endpoint is /subs/ and let's concatenate sub.name/image. And the data is the form data, but now we need to add some headers, actually just one header, which is the content type. So content type, we need to tell Axios that this is a multi-part /form-data content type. And if we get an error, let's just console log it. So console log error. All right, so save and let's see if that's working. All right, so let's open the network in the DevTools, and let's go to XHR. All right, click on the image, and I have this React icon thingy. I'm gonna upload that. Cool. So, all right, so cool, but not cool at the same time, that it didn't update instantly, but our image was uploaded. And if we refresh, actually it refreshed before we refreshed. The SWR revalidated that request. So that's cool. And if we do a banner, so let's do this. Actually, let's do the clown. And if we refresh, boom, we get that clown there. Nice. Actually, I should change this to not be the background of the div, because that way we can just have it as an image and use the Nextjs image component. Maybe you should do that, because I already showed you how to use the image component. That should be a good exercise for you to do that. Okay, now what do we need to do? Let me remember. Ah, yes, we need to manually refresh fetching that sub and get those changed image URLs. So there's a simple way, and kind of more efficient, I guess, which is to store the sub itself in a local state variable. But what we can do, so from this use SWR, we can get something called revalidate, which is a function that we can call manually that sends a request to revalidate that data and get the new data. So now that we got that function, so here we don't need this response. We can just, after we request to upload that image, if that's done successfully, we simply just call revalidate like that, save. All right, let's test it out. So let's upload a new banner. So I'm gonna give this coding banner, click that. Cool. So you see it sent that image request, and it immediately revalidated and sent a request to fetch that sub again. Nice. So the image upload is now working, and it's updating instantly. All right, so that's it for this one. Please remember to like this video, and of course, subscribe if you haven't done so yet, and I'll catch you in the next one. Cheers.